Hi, everyone, and thank you for being with us. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sam. I am the Community Engagement Librarian at the Barrington Area Library, which means I work for the benefit of our local nonprofits and alongside our local nonprofits. So I'm very excited this evening that we get to work with Bacoa. Bacoa was founded more than 50 years ago now, I think, 50 or 51 years, for the benefit of older adults in the Barrington area. I'm going to pass quickly to my colleague Corinne so she can introduce herself, and then we will meet Pam and Lynne.
Hi, my name's Corinne. I am the Senior Services and Outreach Librarian at the Barrington Library. So I work with all the senior living facilities in the area, as well as Bacoa. I am also on the home delivery team. So we deliver books, DVDs, music to seniors in the area through that program. And right now I'll pass it over to Pam and Lynne so they can introduce themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you, Corinne. Good evening. My name is Pam Pellizzari, Memory Programs Director at Bacoa, formerly known as the Barrington Area Council on Aging. And Lynne O'Malley and I would like to thank the Barrington Area Library for the opportunity to speak with you tonight on the topic of normal aging and Alzheimer's, knowing the difference. So Lynne will put up our first slide here. Wonderful. Thank you, Lynne. And normally memory loss versus Alzheimer's, knowing the difference. Next slide. As I mentioned, I'm Memory Programs Director at Bacoa. I have my Certified Dementia Practitioner certification, Certified Montessori Dementia Care Professional, and Alzheimer's Foundation of America Dementia Care Partner. Next, I'd like to introduce my partner in crime, Lynne.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Barrington Area Public Library for providing us this opportunity tonight. And we're very excited to share with you some information on a very important topic to us and our community. My name is Lynne O'Malley. I am the Community Liaison for Right at Home in-home care and assistance. I'm also a certified dementia practitioner, a dementia and cognitive support specialist, and a PAC certified independent trainer, which stands for Positive Approach to Care. I'm also a Dementia Live certified trainer. So as Sam said before, we're going to progress through the presentation tonight. If you've just joined us and you wouldn't mind turning off your video, your camera, and your audio, mute yourselves, we'd appreciate that, because we're going to start our presentation with a video in just a moment. But first, I just want to say that we're pleased that everyone on this call has taken the time to share their interest in learning about this important topic. And we hope you walk away with some valuable information and resources this evening. So we're going to progress ahead. Next slide. And pretty much tonight, our objective is pretty straightforward. It's to learn the differences between normal age-related memory changes and Alzheimer's disease. And as I mentioned, we're going to start the evening off with a video. It's a clip led by a person named Teepa Snow. She is a world-renowned dementia education expert, and she's going to demonstrate normal aging through a self role play. Teepa is a very lively character, so I'm going to warn you of some of her colorful language, but she's really interesting and fun to watch. So we'll get started. Here we go.
What we're going to talk about now is the difference between normal aging and not normal aging. Now understand, I did not say dementia. I just said normal aging, not normal aging, because one of our big misconceptions in this country is that if it's not normal aging, it's going to be dementia. And that's not true. So we've got to get that one off the table. So what I'm going to do very quickly is give you 2 quick little role plays that are going to take you through normal versus not normal. So I'll do normal first. I'm in the living room, and I've been watching a TV program, and the program finishes, and I decide, you know what? I'm thirsty. I think I'm going to go make a pot of coffee. And I head toward the kitchen to make coffee. But before I get all the way in the kitchen, the telephone rings. And so I answer the telephone. Hello? Oh, hey, sweetheart. How have you been? Well, yes, of course I know who it is. It's, right on the tip of my tongue, starts with a B. Betty, of course it's Betty, sorry. Recognized your voice right away, just couldn't think of your name. Yeah, senior moment. Huh? What? Oh, no, I'd love to get together. Oh, today? Okay, what? At 2 this afternoon? All right. Oh, at the mall. Okay, well, which end? Macy's. Oh, that's where JCPenney's was, right? They moved out and then, I know what you're talking about, absolutely. The menswear, is that the same, yep, I know where to be. 2 o'clock, I'll be there. Wait right inside the door, I'll be waiting right inside that door. It's supposed to be a little chilly this afternoon. Yep, huh? What? Oh, they opened a new chocolate store. Oh, well, you know me. You know what I'm gonna get. I'll get caramels. I always get caramels. You're gonna get I know you like the white flaky stuff in the chocolate. Yes, coconut, of course. That's you. Huh? Oh, no, I'll be happy to call and see if Margaret wants to come. That'd be great. Yeah. Oh, the vacation pictures? Oh, yeah, I'll bring them. Wait till you see yourself in that bathing suit. Oh, I was just kidding. Just teasing you. You know how I am. Such a teaser. She's getting fat. I'm not going to say it, but she sure is getting fat. Okay. Huh? What? No, I didn't say anything. I was just talking to myself, writing a note. All right, sweetheart. Well, I'll see you then. Love you. Okay. Bye-bye. What did I come in here for? Okay, hang on. Let me think here. I was in the living room. I was watching the TV. Program ended. Telephone. Betty hadn't called. I'd been able to remember. Okay, let me think on this. Was it here? Okay. I was in the living room. I was sitting right here. Okay, and the program ended, and I thought, God, man. Okay. Coffee. Why could I not think of that? Lord knows I'm losing it. Now, all of you have gone dead silent because all of your brains are going, oh shit, I have this. Every single one of your brains is going, oh my God. And your brain is going, that's not dementia, that can't be dementia. I don't think that's dementia, that's just normal. Isn't that normal? I think that's normal. Your brain is talking to itself. One side is going, I think you've got dementia. No, she didn't say that was dementia. I think she said that was just not normal.
So, guess what? That was an example of normal aging. That was a very normal scenario. And the good news is that because that was normal, we are all experiencing that or going to experience that. But let's take a moment to think about what happened during Teepa's role play scenario. The first and most important message to understand is that as we all begin to age, our brain's cells begin to change. Normal aging involves changes taking place within the brain. It's basically an operational slowdown. So in essence, things don't fire as quickly, and it takes time to process all sorts of incoming data or information. And since your brain guides and runs your body, your emotions, your thinking, your reactions, and your responses, all of these areas are affected by the slowdown. So here are some examples of how this takes place. Our working memory can hold 5 to 8 pieces of information at a time. So Teepa started with the thought of 1, making coffee. 2, recognizing the phone call coming in. 3, identifying Betty's voice. 4, processing the thought of meeting in the mall or at the mall. 5, remembering the meeting time to be 2 o'clock. Number 6, identifying the location to meet near Macy's. 7, meeting inside because it was chilly out. 8, learning about the chocolate store. 9, remembering that Betty likes coconut. 10, remembering to call Margaret to ask if she'd like to come. And of course, the vacation pictures. So right there, we have already 10 things, never mind the idea to make coffee. Name searching is a slowing down experience, and it's very typical. Teepa automatically calls her friend sweetheart because her brain needs time to pull a visual from her memory to make the connection to Betty's voice. We notice changes and we catch ourselves tripping up. She says, "Oh yes, I remember," but that was only when Betty helped her by cueing Betty's own name. We use old knowledge to connect and hold on to new information. She knew that JCPenney was in the location from her past experience, but she had to rely on that to make the connection to Macy's being there now. We use auditory information for help with word finding. She couldn't come up with the word coconut, but she could describe it as the quote, white flaky stuff. Impulses slip, but can be put in check. Let's face it, we all lose our language filter a bit as we get older for a variety of reasons, but in normal aging, this is common. And I like to say 4-letter words can appear at any time, but they tend to be more like who, what, where, or when. But if Betty only knew how Teepa thought of her in those bathing suit pictures, that would be a different story. We compensate with visual, verbal, or physical cues. We take in information in these 3 primary ways, and we rely on them to help us piece things together. So after the call, Teepa thinks, now what was I going to do? She looks around the room to see if anything sparks her memory visually, and she talks out loud to see if that helps. Lord knows I'm losing it, she says. And then she physically traces her steps back to the chair where the entire process began. The penny drops, the coffee. She wanted to make coffee. So with normal aging, processing data slows down. So we have to allow this and allow ourselves to go with our brain change. It's a fact of life for everyone. We all need to be patient with each other and ourselves to allow for the process. It's okay to do things to support our intake, like writing reminder notes or setting an alarm or even planning extra time for physically doing things, but we can still learn new things and enjoy life. It's just important to allow more time to process each moment. That being said, Pam will now give us an overview of dementia.
Thank you, Lynn. Let's start with just a basic definition of dementia. Dementia itself is not a specific disease, but it's this overall umbrella term that describes a wide range of symptoms associated with a decline in memory or other thinking skills, severe enough to interfere with everyday life activities. It's really important to note that dementia is not a normal part of aging. And so under this umbrella of dementia, we will find many different diseases, including Alzheimer's disease. And that's the one we're going to focus on tonight because it is the most common. It is the most common cause of dementia and accounts for 60 to 80% of cases and is the 6th leading cause of death. It involves a continuous decline of thinking, behavioral, and social skills that disrupts a person's ability to function independently in everyday life. But it's very important to remember that at all stages of this disease, the person living with Alzheimer's is still a person. They're still a whole person, mind, body, spirit, with many gifts to share with their family and their community. So we don't want to lose track of that person. So as we continue to look under that umbrella of dementia, we'll see other diseases, Lewy body dementia, which is the 2nd most common form, along with vascular and frontotemporal dementia, and there's many others. There are other conditions that can cause symptoms of dementia, including thyroid problems, head injuries, depression, brain tumors, urinary tract infections, hearing and vision problems, and also even vitamin deficiencies. All kinds of things can cause memory loss and symptoms of dementia. But some of these conditions, though, when they're treated, these symptoms of dementia can be reversed. So that's why it's so very important to see your physician right away to rule out any other possible underlying medical conditions that may be causing some of these issues. Many people hesitate to go to the doctor. They're afraid. They don't want to know, and they live in denial, and they don't seek medical care. And so something that some of you may not know, but during your annual Medicare wellness physical, there is a cognitive component to that exam. So seniors over age 65 can take advantage of this. Also, if you have concerns about a loved one, this could be a gateway into getting them in for an evaluation, especially if they're very resistant. So that's something for you to remember. And we also want you to remember, if you just have one takeaway, again, from tonight's program, it is for you to call your physician with any concerns that you might have about your health or a loved one. So Lynne is now going to give you a little bit more information about some basic facts of Alzheimer's.
So Pam and I wanted you to have a little bit of a foundation about the reality of dementia and Alzheimer's. And we will start with the fact that there are more than 5 million people living with this disease. By 2025, which is not too far off, there will be 7 million. So it is on the increase. 1 in 10 people age 85 and older have Alzheimer's disease. 1 in 10. And nearly 60% of people with dementia live in their homes and communities and need support from families and community members. 1 in 7 people live alone. There are 16.1 million caregivers of people with Alzheimer's or other dementias. And I think that statistic speaks very highly for the amount of people that are providing support within their own family, their own parents, or other loved ones. 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's or another dementia. And between 2000 and 2018, deaths from heart disease have decreased by 7.8%, while deaths from Alzheimer's disease have increased 146%. We extracted these facts from the Alzheimer's Association, and we encourage you to use the Alzheimer's Association website as a resource. We'll touch upon that at the end of tonight's program, but we definitely wanted you to be aware of these facts. And now I want to turn it back over to Pam, who's going to kind of get into the meat of things and talk about the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Okay, great. So let's talk about typical normal aging versus Alzheimer's. Number one, memory loss, hallmark of Alzheimer's. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. With normal aging, sometimes we forget names or appointments, but they usually come back to us pretty easily. Just as Teepa remembered some of the things she was forgetting. But one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's, especially in the early stages, is forgetting recently learned information. It's like, I guess to use an example would be like a tape recorder. And with Alzheimer's, the tape recorder is broken, unfortunately, and it can't record and store any new information. And it becomes increasingly more difficult for the person to remember important dates or events. And you'll notice people living with Alzheimer's asking for the same information over and over, and relying a lot on memory aids such as writing notes, using electronic devices, or relying heavily on family members for things that they used to be able to handle on their own. And my dad lived with dementia for several years. Over time, he developed his own coping mechanisms to live with the disease. And he'd write himself little notes on Post-it notes and post them around the house and on the table. And at the time, I didn't quite understand that, but now I understand it more. But I'll be sharing just a little bit about him tonight. We're not exactly sure what his specific diagnosis was, because he absolutely refused to go to the doctor. And, so we never really knew. He wouldn't go to a neurologist for a complete neuropsych eval. And so as a result, we never really had a clear roadmap of what the heck was going on with him. We didn't know what to expect with the disease. And it was very stressful, especially for my mom. And sometimes in my work, I have families ask me, well, why should we get a diagnosis? There's no cure. There's really nothing we can do about it anyway. So why should we do that? And I always tell them that this information is very important, so everyone in the family can have a better understanding of the disease and how it progresses, challenging behaviors, what's going to happen next. And also, it's so important to involve that person with dementia in making as many decisions for their future as while they still can. So, number two, challenges in planning or solving problems. With normal aging, it's common for us to make occasional errors when balancing our checkbook or leaving out an ingredient in a recipe when we're cooking. I do that a lot. If I'm talking on the phone and I'm cooking, I could leave out more than one ingredient. We when we're trying to multitask, sometimes we run into problems like that. But with Alzheimer's, a person can experience changes too in their ability to develop or follow a plan or work with numbers, things that they used to be able to do easily, but then they start struggling. That's a red flag. They may struggle with keeping track of monthly bills, and maybe they've done that their whole life. That was their thing that they did, and now they're struggling with that. They may have trouble just concentrating and take much longer to do things than they did before. Number three, difficulty completing familiar tasks at home, work, or leisure. In normal aging, occasionally needing help to use the settings on a new appliance or to record a television program can be very challenging. I know it is for me to use multiple TV remotes. That can be challenging sometimes. But people living with Alzheimer's, they often find it hard to complete even the simplest of tasks. And sometimes they may have trouble driving to a familiar location. It's a red flag if they've always driven to a certain place, and now they're starting to question, like, I'm not sure if I can remember how to do that. Maybe they start having trouble managing their budget at home or at work, or just remembering the rules to a favorite game that they've played. So those are concerns. Number 4, confusion with time or place. In typical aging, getting confused about the day of the week, but figuring it out later, it happens, right? It usually comes back to you fairly quickly. Those of you who go on vacations, I don't know what that's like, but if you do, if you do go on a vacation, you might experience that, and that's a good thing. You wake up, you're like, oh my gosh, what day is it? That's a good thing. But people living with Alzheimer's, they can lose track of dates, even seasons, just passages of time. They may not understand what year they're in. They might have trouble understanding something if it's not happening like in the here and now immediately. And sometimes they may forget where they are or how they got there, which, that's really frightening and confusing for that person. And they really start to rely more on their caregivers for help and just navigating and making sense of their world. And at the end of our program, we're going to share some resources for caregivers, because it's so very important for caregivers to reach out for support. Do that before you start experience serious burnout. So number 5, vision problems. In typical aging, our peripheral vision starts to shrink, right? Our field of vision starts to narrow somewhat. We might develop cataracts, might need a stronger prescription for our glasses. That's to be expected. And something to note as well, people living with Alzheimer's, until later on in the disease, they can still read. They can read, but reading problems start not because they can't read, it's just the standard print material is too challenging for them. So that's something important to note. Judging distances and determining color and contrast become difficult. And in terms of perception, as the disease progresses, a person may pass a mirror and think someone else is in the mirror. And that's very hard for families to experience that. Someone might not recognize their own reflection, and in time may not recognize their friends and their family members. And this is really hard for everyone in the family. I know as far as driving and perception issues, I wanted to give you the example of my dad, who always loved driving to the library. He loved the library and the Waffle House every day. That was part of his routine, come rain or shine. He did it every day. And so one day my mom was in the car with him, and they were sitting at the stop sign, and he was getting ready to pull out on a very busy road, but he didn't wait. He just impulsively pulled out, and these cars were swerving all over the place. My mom was just like ready to have a heart attack. And fortunately the cars kind of swerved away from him. And but it was a real wake-up call to my mom, like, maybe he shouldn't be driving anymore. And that's a big one. That's a big one that I hear families ask me about, like, well, gosh, how long should they be driving? And if you have a loved one with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, they probably should not be driving. You really have to keep an eye on that, unless they're very early on in the disease process. They shouldn't be driving. So that's a tough one. Number 6, new problems with words and speaking and writing. In normal aging, sometimes having trouble finding the right word or thinking of someone's name is common. I am really bad with people's names. The minute they tell me, I forget it. but it does come back to me. But with some prompting, sometimes it takes a little prompting, but it comes back. But people living with Alzheimer's, they really start to have problems with communication. They start having trouble following or joining a conversation. They may stop in the middle of saying something and have no idea what to say next. And they might repeat themselves. They might struggle with vocabulary, just finding their words, and having problems finding the right word, or calling things by the wrong name, like calling a watch a hand clock. They'll be like, that thing that you wear on your wrist. And so that's a common thing for them. Number 7, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps, right? In typical aging, right? We lose stuff. We misplace our things from time to time. With me, it's keys, glasses, or trying to find the TV remote, right? But we usually find them eventually, unless your couch has eaten them or you've got a very curious grandchild or child. But we have that ability to retrace our steps, as Teepa did in the video, and we're able to find those things. A person living with Alzheimer's may put things in very unusual places, and that they may lose them, and then they can't go back and trace over their steps again to find them. And sometimes, because they forget where they placed them, they may accuse you of stealing something from them. So, and this can occur more frequently as time goes on. Number 8, decreased or poor judgment, making a bad decision once in a while. We do that. It's not necessarily a cause for alarm, but people living with Alzheimer's may experience changes in judgment or decision making. For example, they may use poor judgment with dealing with money. I just had a call come in the office today that they were talking about and I said, you've got to come to our program tonight because your loved one has all these warning signs, because she said she gave up almost $40,000 to telemarketers. And so nobody knew she was doing it. And so that's definitely a warning sign. Also, you might find someone living with Alzheimer's might start to pay less attention to their grooming, or just that ability to sense that they need to take a shower or something. And use my dad again. My dad was good about showering, because remember, he had those little Post-it notes. He'd write, take a shower. He would remember that. But the thing that drove my mom crazy was that he wanted to wear the same 2 flannel shirts all the time. We used to buy him all kinds of really nice clothes, and I'd go visit and they'd still be in the closet with the tags on. And there he'd be sitting with the same flannel shirt that he's been wearing for 10 years. But you know what? It was something that was familiar to him. It was easy for him to just pull on this shirt, the same 2 shirts. Of course, my mom would sneak them out and wash them. But, as caregivers, we need to pick and choose our battles. And so, at the end of the day, it just wasn't worth getting into a fight over. So, so that was something that we experienced. Number 9, withdrawal from work or social activities. So what's typical? Sometimes you really don't feel like going out at night. You've been working all day and you're just like, I don't feel like being social. Or I don't feel like going to that party because my annoying sister-in-law will be there. I mean, you're just like, I just don't want to do it. But also, navigating relationships during COVID has just added a whole nother layer of complication. But fortunately, things are opening up now. But over this past year, it's been really complicated to just go out and do things. But a person with Alzheimer's may start to remove themselves from all those things that maybe they used to be able to do and love and enjoy, like a favorite hobby or a social activity, or playing a certain sport, or different things that they would normally love to do. Remembering the steps to cooking a favorite recipe that they enjoyed for years, engaging in a hobby. And, the reasons, there's a lot of reasons that they're doing this, because there's so many changes going on in their brain, so many changes. And it just gets to be so tiring and confusing and frustrating to try to keep up with a conversation in social settings. trying to order off of a large menu that's just got a lot on it and there's small print and you're in this busy, noisy restaurant at a large family gathering, it can just be so overwhelming to that person. So something to think about when planning gatherings if you have a loved one with dementia. Maybe think about keeping those things a little bit smaller, more manageable. Number 10, changes in mood and personality. Okay, as we get older, we kind of like our routines. We can get locked into doing the same things, specific ways of doing things. And sometimes we get a little irritable when our routine is disrupted, you know, but somebody with Alzheimer's, that routine can be really challenging for them. Things are always changing, their moods, their personalities. They can become confused or suspicious or depressed, fearful or anxious. They can start to get more easily agitated at home or at work with friends, you know, wherever they're out of their comfort zone, where their anchors are at, that can really be trying for them. Because Alzheimer's is brain failure. Your brain is failing. There's so many physical and chemical changes going on inside that brain, and that can fluctuate from day to day, even hour to hour. And that's why, you know, I'll hear this with my family. It's like, but they were so good. They did so well, you know, yesterday, and then today they're just a train wreck. They're just all over the map. I don't understand that. And so there's just fluctuations every day. And so the other thing that's really important to remember is this disease is unique for each person as it progresses. And it's not only affects that one person with dementia. Dementia doesn't affect just one person, it affects the whole family. And that's why it's so important to learn all that we can about this disease. And Lynne is going to talk to you about how you can do that by becoming a dementia friend.
Thanks, Pam. So the organization Dementia Friends USA was developed or created to gain a better understanding of dementia. And it helps to learn how you can support people living with dementia in our community. So the organization Dementia Friends USA was developed to educate us as local community residents so that we have the awareness of the challenges folks living with dementia have and how we can help them live inclusively in our community. So we encourage you to check out their website. It basically involves just watching a simple video online and what it entails to become a dementia friend. And then you have the opportunity to sign up. It's worth checking out. So we would encourage you to just explore that website and maybe become a friend to someone in the community.
And it's so important for families to reach out for support because you're not on this journey alone. You have resources, you have others that are walking in your shoes. And I want to say that Bacoa, the Barrington Area Council on Aging, can be a wonderful partner for you. We serve more than 1,500 individuals annually in Barrington, not just in Barrington, but in the surrounding areas, helping them to live full independent lives. And we provide social services for older adults and caregivers, including with our Meals with Wheels program, transportation, education, support groups. We offer lots of local events and outings, a walking club, a cuisine club, and also our memory programs that I'm involved with include an adult day program for people with early to mid-stage memory loss. We have that program at the Lutheran Church of the Atonement. So if you have questions about that, contact us. We also have 2 caregiver support groups, Memory Cafe, and also we offer free memory screenings. And I also want to share that Bacoa has launched a dementia-friendly Barrington initiative to help support people living with dementia and their families. And we'll be We are partnering with Right at Home for some of those projects as well. So we'll be working with the community, banks, hospitals, grocery stores, first responders, schools, churches. You know, it's all so people can learn more about dementia, educate themselves, because our goal is to help reduce the stigma and reduce the fear that is associated with Alzheimer's. So we're really excited about that. Also, Lynn mentioned the Alzheimer's Association, my go-to resource for families, their website, a wonderful resource for you to check out and share with your family. And so now Lynn is going to tell you all the great things that Right at Home can do for you.
Thanks, Pam. Right at Home in-home care and assistance. We've been in existence since 1995, and we've been providing caregiving services to help people maintain their independence in aging at home. As I mentioned earlier, I am the community liaison for Right at Home's Northwest Suburban Chicago office, and I would encourage you to give us a call, and we'd be happy to just discuss any concerns that you have or have any questions. But basically, we're here to create a custom care plan designed to support every unique individual that is basically getting through life every day through their daily activities, and we're here to support them. And our professional caregivers, they're specially trained with a specific person-centered approach. So we take a very in-depth look at who the person is that we're supporting, and we recognize all those unique interests, and our caregivers design their tasks and their interactions around that person's uniqueness. And our services can be tailored to those living with dementia, and even respite for family caregivers. Another important resource, as Pam mentioned, it's very taxing if you are a family caregiver. And so Right at Home can be a resource for you just to give you a break and to help you with dealing with some of those everyday tasks of caring for someone with dementia. So we're here to guide you for successful living at home. Give us a call if you'd like to just, generally talk things through. We're here for you.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. And Lynn's going to stop screen sharing for a moment here. And I think we might have a few questions in the chat. Sam can read to us if she'd like. I guess everybody needs to come off of mute. Uh-oh, I can't hear you, Sam.
Sorry, I thought I clicked that, but apparently not. If people would like to unmute themselves and ask their own questions, if you would prefer to have us pose the questions for you, you can type them into the chat. I'm gonna put something in chat real quick just so you can see where it is. It'll pop up on your screen. And while we're giving folks a moment to formulate their questions or to think about what they might want to ask, I want to, if it's okay with you guys, I just want to talk real quickly about the Dementia Friends website. Corinne and I were in a meeting for Dementia Friendly Barrington, and they talked about the Dementia Friends. So I went and looked at it just to see what it was like. And the process is fairly simple, and they pack a wealth of information into a few very short videos, like 5-10 minutes worth of different videos. And I found it helpful in my work at the library and just in my day-to-day life. So I put something out on our library, staff intranet saying, hey, this is a cool thing, you guys might want to look into it. And I know of at least half a dozen employees from the library who will, I'm sorry, I just got a message that they're not allowed to unmute. So let me try and fix that. You should be able to now if you wish to. So I got feedback from folks at the library that they found it really interesting and helpful, and were able to give a couple specific examples of, even if it's not a sign of dementia, you know, the world changes around you and sometimes it's confusing. You don't know exactly how things work. And, you know, sometimes we're hesitant to go up to someone and say, oh, hey, can I help you with that? And said, you know, I feel much more confident now that I would know the right approach to take, and that it's okay to say, hey, here to help if you want it. I would just suggest looking into that. It's not something that like obligates you to choose a specific person with dementia and become their friend. It's just how to be more friendly to folks who are who may be challenged with that. And
Thank you, Sam. That was a good little critique.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, because I turned a few people's cameras off, I now have to turn them all back on. So I'm going to be clicking on that for a moment, and I will let Corinne take over for a moment while I start this.
Sure thing.
So,
All right. Have we gotten any chats in the queue, Sam?
I have not seen any.
I think John asked one, right, John?
Yes,
About memory supplements?
yes, such as Prevagen. Very expensive. I wonder if all that stuff, any of that stuff is worth it.
You know, John, I don't know of a magic bullet supplement that, I mean, if we had it, I think it'd be all over the, you know, all over the newspapers and TV if there was one, you know, something that was really significant. I think what research is they're starting to turn their attention to is reducing inflammation in the body through lifestyle choices, living a healthy life, things that have helped reduce the incidence of heart disease, like diet, an anti-inflammatory diet, like the Mediterranean diet, for example, exercise, staying socially connected, and getting enough sleep. Those are things that are bearing more result as far as helping with cognition. So I'm not aware of any particular supplement myself. I don't know anything about that one. So don't buy it, John.
And can we have the phone number for Right at Home? It was covered up with your pictures and we couldn't get it all.
Oh,
Okay, we can share that again, but if you'd like to write it down, the number is
Yes.
847-396-9000. We'll put our information up again if we have time. Hopefully, Sam, right? We can share that slide one more time for everyone.
it's
Thank
7:20 now, so we've got another 10 minutes or so, and
hey.
if you guys are okay, we can stay on a few minutes past that if folks still have questions.
Thank
We
you.
have a message asking if you have any feedback about the newest drug. And I think you were talking about this before we started, and I'm probably not going to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
Aduhelm?
Yeah, you did well. Yeah.
Librarian.
Yeah, well, there are mixed reviews on that drug. I know that there's some conflict going on about, you know, the cost versus benefit of the drug. I know the aim of that drug is to remove the amyloid plaque proteins in the brain, and you know, hopefully their goal is for that drug to help, you know, slow the progression of the disease. It is not something that is going to restore any kind of cognition, or their hope is to maybe just slow the progression down and help improve the quality of the person's life. But it's a very expensive drug, and I don't know that it's covered at this point yet by Medicare. So I know the jury's still out on it.
I'm sure physicians are now getting some information on it.
Mhm.
And I think Pam and I would recommend that if you have questions specific to it, to direct it to your general physician or
Mhm.
neurologist.
Mhm. Yeah, there's some mix.
Didn't get it,
Mhm.
but I think it's the one that Dana.
Mhm.
I think, did I hear someone trying to ask a question? No, it doesn't seem to be coming up. And here I go. I had a question in mind and it just slipped away.
It'll come back.
One would
It'll
hope,
come back.
yes.
I had a question kind of. Pam, I know you had mentioned that they're kind of looking at lifestyle choices to sort of prevent it. However, is there any sort of like underlying factors that you can't change that put you at risk for Alzheimer's? Do you know of anything like that?
Well, as Lynn said, you know, the biggest risk factor is age. As we age, our chances of developing that, actually after 65, your risk doubles every 5 years. And then after age 85, it reaches nearly a third. So other things, other risk factors could be your family history and genetics. Down syndrome folks are more at risk. If you've had a head injury or past head trauma or mild cognitive impairment, puts you more at risk. But we can't control things like our age or family history or heredity, but the good news is research now, as we said, is beginning to reveal clues about risk factors, which we can do something about, right? When we talked about those healthy lifestyle choices, but also protecting your head. Like if you're riding a motorcycle or bike riding, skateboarding, we got to protect our brain. Wearing your seatbelt, fall proofing, safety things around your home to help reduce your risk of falling. And as I said, reducing inflammation in your body, keeping those blood vessels healthy, because Alzheimer's disease is now being called type 3 diabetes. So what's good, and also which presents a risk factor. So really think about what's good for your heart is good for your brain, and focus on those lifestyle choices as well.
What about the things like, a few years ago, doing crossword puzzles was the big thing. And I know my mom has always been a crossword puzzle person, and finally had a doctor who said, for you, it's not doing crossword puzzles because your brain already knows how to do that and is in that habit. Find something new, learn something new that you didn't really know how to do.
You're right, challenging yourself. I think I don't know that there's really any data on that it's going to delay per se. I think big thing is staying active and engaged in things that you enjoy doing, that bring you joy, that may even connect you with other people, staying and challenging yourself that way. But I'm not aware of it really significantly reducing your risk for developing dementia. I have not heard that, but I think it is important to stay engaged with fun activities.
Yeah. All right, folks, if we don't have any more questions from the audience, it is just about 7:30. So we will, none have come to me. I don't know, Pam or Lynne, if
I don't know. I see one peer more about support for caregivers. Oh, like what kinds of things can we do for well, caregivers? If the caregivers don't take care of themselves, and the whole ship goes down. So very important for caregivers to reach out, as we said, to know that they're not on that journey alone. And definitely Bacoa offers, and I lead 2 caregiver support groups that help support caregivers. And we have a very educational focus. So we have different speakers each month. And so there's opportunity for caregivers to share and learn from each other, but also to add tools to their caregiver toolbox. So because they want to keep learning too. So I'm trying to think, that's an important thing for caregivers.
You know, I kind of asked that question because I'm a volunteer along with another person on the call here at the Bacoa Day Out program, which is both a program of wonderful activities for the people with Alzheimer's, but it also provides that respite time, that break time for the caregivers. And we find that it's really valuable, and we're so affected by what we see and what we hear by the people who are on 24/7 duty for loved ones. And it's really rough. And that is a program that I encourage people to, if you are looking for activity for a loved one and looking for respite, it's just a great program.
Thank you, Pierre. That's so true. It's a win-win for the person living with dementia and the caregiver. And so thank you for sharing about our program. That's great.
Awesome.
One thing I might add to talk about Pam's programs too is for someone living with dementia and a caregiver, it's a very isolating lifestyle being at home. And to have that opportunity, as Pierre said, to have that out for some socialization for your loved one with dementia is so stimulating for them. The interaction is great. And not to mention, like you said, Pierre, the respite, the break for the family caregiver to have a few hours on a regular basis, and knowing that your loved one is in the company of people that really understand and want to stimulate and interact with them. It's really a great program.
Is there a phone number for that program?
Sam, can we share our slide again?
Go right ahead.
Let me see if I can do that. Let me go back to, if I can pull this up. Bear with me, gang.
You think I would know the phone number to Bacoa by heart?
85738.
No, we have to put it on full screen.
Oh,
Okay, bear with me.
Okay.
Oh, you're right. The gallery does block it.
Yeah.
Okay, we can read it.
How do we get rid of that, guys?
By changing your view, you just
Other
change
other folks can change their view. I'm going to take the 2 of you off Spotlight as well, and that might help. And I can just copy it into the. So I'm putting in the number for Bacoa first. And you can also, hold on, let me put the dashes in the right place so it's a little more legible. Honestly, if you need to, call the library and ask us for it,
Sure.
which I suppose would mean you would need the library's phone number, but the second number I put in there was right at home. Or just bacoa.org if you have access. Well, obviously, if you're on this call with us tonight, you have access to internet and a computer. So bacoa.org, and I know they keep their number front and center on their page, so it's easy to find them. And yeah, they really are a fantastic resource. We're very fortunate to have them in the area.
Thank you, Sam.
Absolutely. And
likewise, excellent. We're so fortunate to have a library in our community that offers such a beautiful, wonderful range of programming. And so just a little shout out to the library now that with COVID. Yeah, Sam, can you share a minute about some upcoming programs? Or I know with the library open, you guys are
Right.
our library.
So a couple of things that are coming up that we're excited about. You know what, Lynn, do you mind if you take it off share for a second?
Not at all.
So a couple of things that we're really excited about. One is tomorrow night, there is a discussion that actually like a couple dozen libraries in the Chicago area are collaborating on with the director of a film called The Long Shadow. So if you go to the library's website and go to our events page, you'll find registration information there. You can live stream the film The Long Shadow for free, and then listen in on a conversation between one of the, between the director, basically the director being interviewed, which sounds really interesting. A group of libraries did this back in February. And I actually had several folks that I work with, collaborate with from other organizations be like, why didn't we do this? And I was like, I had shoulder surgery. I was down for the count. So they're doing it again, and I am taking part this time. The other thing we're really excited about is Saturday. I don't know if any of you have been to the library recently, but behind the library, we have created a teaching garden. It's kind of between the library upper parking lot, and there's a pathway that leads to the garlands there. And there's a beautiful teaching garden that's been put in with help from some of our local conservation organizations, as well as the Master Gardeners of McHenry County, and I think also Master Gardeners of North Lake County. But there's a Dreamway opening over by the high school at 10 a.m. and then at noon, our teaching garden. There'll be an open house for that will go till 4 p.m. So we would love to have you join us for those things. And then everything else, we're close to the end of the month. So our next newsletter guide will be coming out around the beginning of July, end of June, beginning of July. So I couldn't say off the top of my head what all those things are, but there'll be all kinds of exciting things. I know we're doing a armchair tour of the solar system over the summer. There's a program every month on that. So that'll be fun. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being with us. If any other questions come up, don't hesitate to reach out to the library, reach out to Pam at Bacoa, Lynn directly. And if Corinne or I are not there when you call, the library is open all regular hours, but we aren't, many of us, in case you can't tell, this is my house. That is Corinne's house behind her. So we aren't at the library. The staffing at the library is not back up to 100%, right? Some of the time we work from home, some of the time we work in the building. So we are open all regular hours. If you happen to call at a time that Corinne or I are not there, anyone in the adult services should be able to answer most questions. And if they can't, they will refer them to one of the two of us. So they're happy to help you with that. If you want to learn more about Homebound, it's a great program if you have a hard time getting to the library yourself. So thank you all very much for being with us. This video will go on YouTube fairly soon, and I will send the link for that YouTube video out to everyone who is registered for the program. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
See you another time.
Thank you.
Bye now.